When Ben and I were deciding where to get fertility treatment to conceive a child, it dawned on us, of course we choose the complex where his semen has been stored in the basement for 22 years.
That fertility complex in Fairfax, Virginia, has a unique spot in my memory. Just days before beginning chemo when I was 16, I deposited my semen into a cup on the second floor. Someone then shuffled my swimmers down to the basement, where they've been stored in liquid nitrogen since.
And the third floor housed the fertility treatment clinic. His semen just needed to ride an elevator up 3 stories. Talk about an all-in-one service.
That was assuming my semen was even still there. I mean, I've lost a lot of things over 22 years that I hadn't intended to lose. You know, like passwords, pins, the 24-word recovery phrase to my cryptocurrency wallet, my master password to LastPass.
It's true. Anything can get lost. Like my glasses, socks, wallet, keys, socks. Pants I was sure I threw in the corner. Retainer, socks.
Not only that, but maybe the power to the freezer goes out in my semen thaw. Maybe a staffer unintentionally grabs mine instead of the swimmers in the next door freezer. Anything could have gone wrong.
So we called the complex. Sure enough, all tens of millions of Ben's sperm were still there, inside the original 10 vials.
Now that we selected where we'd get fertility treatment, we got to work signing forms. One was to authorize the complex to release and use my semen. We signed that semen form and took it to FedEx office to be notarized.
A different form gave authorization for the fertility treatment clinic to perform the procedure. But which procedure? Intrauterine insemination or in vitro fertilization? And if we did IVF, did we also need to opt for ICSI, assisted hatching, or PGT?
What the are all these abrevos? We didn't know, but I did what I know best. I created a spreadsheet.
Did I also need to freeze my eggs? Or rather, did we need to freeze an oocyte? And what's an oocyte anyways? If we went with the IVF procedure, did we need a 2-cycle package or maybe a 3 or 6-cycle one?
The spreadsheet didn't help much.
We finally figured everything out after 6 months and 3 calls with our fertility doctor asking probably the same questions. We were ready to try an IUI.
We left the apartment before dawn for Stefanie's first appointment, which they called monitoring. We were bleary during the 45-minute ride on the Capitol Beltway from our apartment in Silver Spring, Maryland to the fertility complex. It was dark and rainy, and I could barely see the lane reflectors. Even despite the limited visibility, as soon as we reached the parking lot, all those memories flooded my synapses. I could envision being 16 again and riding here with my parents. I could picture the brown couch in the deposit room.
Compared to the cold contraption I'd find myself on, I wished for a brown couch. But first, my focus was on what Nurse Katya meant when she said, "Go to room 2. I took a guess and entered the room behind the door with a 2 hanging on it. A minute later, Katya, in a tactical but still gentle way, informed me that go to room 2 meant strip naked and lie down on the exam table. I did so, then Katya took the probe to view my follicles, I got my blood taken, and that was it for my first monitoring appointment.
Stefanie and I headed to Duncan to celebrate this one of many steps throughout the fertility treatment process.
We frequented the complex so often that we look back at the fall as a blurry adventure filled with Interstate 495 lane reflectors, Duncan, and follicle monitoring.
The fall was also filled with some confusion, especially regarding when Steph should take certain medications. That's because an hour delay here or there could be the difference between conceiving and not. One example of when we felt confused was the morning after Thanksgiving. Steph got an email from a nurse that read, "Inject the Ovidrel medication later tonight as soon as possible today. Steph then emailed back asking if she should inject the medication later tonight or right now. The nurse responded, "Sorry, that was the wrong copy and paste. Please inject ASAP."
I injected Avijal immediately. The next day we arrived at 9:30 a.m. Katya said, "Go to room 2. Shortly after, she and the fertility doctor entered holding the now thawed semen that had left for a deep freeze at that same place 22 years ago.
This was magic. The boy who could only distantly dream of ending up with a gal like Steph was now adult me, married to that dream gal who was about to have an intrauterine insemination with the genetic material from when I was that boy. Magic.
It was magic, and it still is magic, as I'm 28 weeks pregnant. Now, I'm just trying to figure out how to clothe myself and stay cool this summer. And, oh, by the way, regarding the baby's gender, it's a... Today is May 27th, 2023, and we are at the Hyatt Regency Chesapeake Bay, about to cut into our gender reveal cake, made by our friends Judy and Thomas.
Top secret info inside.
Boom, boom, boom.
Legend key.
Purple boy, green girl.
And the gorgeous cake. And the gender is...